Money, money, money. $65 billion. Not million, but $1 billion that Madoff took off with in a Ponzi scheme. This is crazy. We'll talk all about it. Now, here are today's shout outs. How would you like to have a shout out in our future video? The only thing you have to do is add a comment in this video with the hashtag word we'll provide you later. How easy is that? Now, you ready for today's episode? See you in the studio.
Hello. If you're new here, we'll introduce ourselves.
Welcome. I'm Shavak.
And I'm Eju, or you can call me Ed. Either one is good. And we are Studio 7.0 True Crime with a lot of AI stuff. We'll get into that later. But before we get into what we're here for today, real quick.
Yes, this is for education, entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research and always be kind to everyone, friends, family, strangers.
Anybody, anywhere. And if you're new here, thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate you watching us.
Like we said, we are a true crime show. And what we've done more and more here is integrate more AI-related technologies into our research. So we'll get into that a bit. But let's today talk about the topic. And this is Bernie Madoff. All I know is he went off with
billions of dollars.
He stole billions. And today, this is a relatively new thing that we're doing, but you're going to see a lot more of our shows we integrate.
Yes.
If you don't know, because if you've been relatively new, I have a technology background, and AI is definitely the way of the future, and we want to integrate a lot of cool stuff. So we have an AI panel.
Yes.
We got a criminologist, a medical person, a psychologist, and a criminologist. So this will be a lot of fun. So I'm sorry.
We hope you'll like it as well.
Yeah, I hope you guys like it. I mean, I think, using AI technology to deep dive into some of these cases or ask some questions is a good way to get into just unique perspectives. So, like we mentioned in the intro, the shout out is Ponzi. So if you want to be, shouted out, just put that word, do a nice comment, and we'll take a look at that and have you in a future episode. So, without further ado, if you're not familiar with the Madoff case, because you're not into finance or business stuff or these type of crimes, we got a short video we're going to play you right now, or just some background information on the case. It's to be really quick. We're going to do that, and then we'll come right back. See you in a few.
Madoff Ponzi scheme. Bernard Lawrence Madoff, born April 29, 1938, died April 14, 2021. He was an American financial criminal businessman who was admitted mastermind of the largest known Ponzi scheme in history. Now let's talk about Ruth, Mark, Andrew, and Bernie Madoff. Peter Madoff, Chief Compliance Officer, worked with his brother Bernie for more than 40 years and ran a daily operation for the past 20 years. Mark Madoff was born on March 11, 1964 in Long Island, New York. He'd earned a bachelor's degree in economics, and he didn't know about the multi-billion-dollar Ponzi scheme orchestrated by his father. Mark and Stephanie with baby, who worked along with his father. He hanged himself in his Manhattan apartment on April 11, 2010. Andrew Madoff, born April 8, 1966, died September 3, 2014, was an American financier best known for exposing alongside his brother and financial crimes of his father. Andrew passed away on September 3, 2014, while undergoing cancer treatment. He was 48 years old at the time of his death. Ruth Madoff was born on May 18, 1941. She had met Bernie while attending Rockaway High School. Bernie's Madoff Ponzi scheme was a fraudulent investment operation where he attracted investors by promising steady returns through a legitimate trading strategy called split strike conversion. However, instead of investing the funds as promised, Madoff deposited the client's money into a single bank account and used the new investor's capital to pay off existing clients who wanted to cash out. One of Bernie's homes was valued at $7 million. Located in Long Island, he had 5 bedrooms and 7.5 bathrooms on a waterway of 8,753 square feet of living space, and another home in Palm Beach. His cars were valued at $250,000 and traveled to work in a private plane. Bernie masterminded the biggest investment fraud in U.S. history. The amount missing from clients' account was almost $65 billion. On December 10, 2008, Madoff confessed his wrongdoing to his sons, who then turned him over to the authorities the following day. In 2008, Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison, and he passed away April 14, 2021.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Welcome.
And thanks for hanging in there. And we just want to say thank you. And if you haven't already, please subscribe, like, comment. We do have memberships. So if you want to join us, we have 2 tiers. We have one tier where it's just early access to episodes, badges, and custom emojis. So when we do live streams, and then the other tier is the studio team layer. You can do all that. Plus we do regular shoutouts, so they're a little different. They're a little more involved. And also, we'll communicate with our photos and updates that only members will know about. So you get a lot of behind the scenes stuff. So we appreciate you guys if you could do that. That'd be great. But check us out and we'll go from there. So let's talk about our AI panel about this whole case, because there's a lot of stuff going on. And Shirok, I'll start it off. And just let you guys know that what we do is we do both sometimes real-time interaction with AI, and something like this is more responses are done ahead of time. And the reason why we do that is so we don't have any lag in communication and technology. But we may customize these as to hair, but all the responses really do come from the artificial intelligence engine. Okay. All right, let's get started. So I want to know what do you think Bernie Madoff's motives was? And I first want to go to our legal expert and ask him, and that's James. So James, what was Bernie Madoff's motives, you think?
Chirok and Ed, I believe overall while financial gain was the primary motivation, Bernie Madoff's desire to maintain his reputation and lifestyle, as well as factors related to control and fear of exposure, likely played significant roles in perpetuating his fraudulent scheme over several decades. Madoff wanted to maintain his reputation. He was highly regarded in the financial industry, and maintaining his reputation as a successful and trustworthy investor was crucial to him. The scheme allowed him to continue appearing successful and reputable, which in turn attracted more investors.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's nail on the head, almost like a good actor, like he could fit and play the part.
Yeah.
So I see Chim, our criminologist, wants to talk a little bit about this as well. So what's your perspective on this?
Thanks for having me back on. Madoff's Ponzi scheme allowed him to accumulate vast sums of money from investors who believed they were earning legitimate returns on their investments. He used new investor funds to pay returns to existing investors, creating the illusion of a profitable investment strategy. Operating a Ponzi scheme provided Madoff with significant power and control over his investors and his firm. He could dictate the terms of investments, manage client relationships, and maintain an aura of exclusivity around his investment strategy. The scheme also enabled Madoff and his family to enjoy a lavish lifestyle, including luxury homes, yachts, and other trappings of wealth. The financial success and social status associated with his purported investment firm, Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities LLC, also contributed to his motivations.
Interesting. That was good, Chin. Yeah.
That lavish lifestyle. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys probably saw during all this, our cat likes to come into the studio. Just a little side note. Sorry, Carol, we'll hold on to you for 1 second. Yeah, it's our cat Boo. She's a rescue cat. She doesn't meow. She hasn't meowed in about 4 months. She's real good. Sorry for the little guest what do you call it? Yeah, special guest. Anyhow, so Carol, What do you think? Same
Carol.
question. Bernie Madoff's motives.
Hello Charok and Ed. Yes, I have to jump in here and say that some analysts and experts have suggested that Madoff's motivations may have included psychological factors such as a desire for recognition, a need for control, or even a sense of invincibility. These factors could have played into his ability to deceive investors and regulators for so long. Over time, as the scheme grew larger, Madoff likely became increasingly fearful of exposure. Admitting the fraud would not only mean financial ruin, but also damage to his reputation and potential criminal consequences. This fear may have driven him to continue the scheme as long as possible.
Yeah, that's a real good point. So his fear of,
Yeah.
not being like seen as, I'm sure it was great for him to say, oh, like I'm the expert. Everybody loves me because I got this special insight. I know how to make you all money, and to have that fantasy come to an end.
Right. And well,
Just
while I
keep it
was
going.
reading this case as well, basically his father had a lot of businesses and his father failed. So failure was not an option
Yeah.
for Bernard.
Yeah.
it.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
your turn, Shrag.
Yeah, so I have a question for Evelyn. Like, how does the stress of a Ponzi scheme, how does that affect the body mentally?
That's a really good question.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. Well, the medical effects of stress associated with running a Ponzi scheme can be significant and wide-ranging, impacting both physical health and mental well-being. The prolonged exposure to stress hormones and the psychological toll of deception and potential consequences can lead to serious health complications if not addressed.
That's a
Yeah.
Some of the ways in which the stress of running a Ponzi scheme can impact the body medically include cardiovascular effects, immune system suppression, gastrointestinal issues, sleep disturbances, weight gain or loss, musculoskeletal tension, cognitive impairment, increased risk of substance abuse, and mental health disorders. Overall, the medical effects of stress associated with running a Ponzi scheme can be significant and wide-ranging, impacting both physical health and mental well-being. The prolonged exposure to stress hormones and the psychological toll of deception and potential consequences can lead to serious health complications if not addressed.
Yeah, I could see that, especially
Yeah.
the mental aspect of the whole
Exactly,
thing.
yeah.
That's I would be freaking out. I don't know how. I don't know. I would be breaking down. I could see a lot of people using drugs and stuff.
Right. So how does the cognitive impairment comes into play here as well, Evelyn?
Good question. For cognitive impairment, the chronic stress can impair cognitive function, affecting memory, concentration, and decision-making abilities. This can further complicate the management of the Ponzi scheme and increase stress levels.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, it
But I was
does.
going to clarification because when you hear cognitive, and I'm like, huh? So I'm glad you asked that.
So this message is for James. How you doing, James, today? So I want to know, how much money was recovered from this Ponzi scheme?
Okay, here's what I know. Irving Picard, the court-appointed trustee tasked with recovering assets for Madoff's victims, has been relatively successful. He has recovered approximately $14.3 billion through settlements and asset sales. While these efforts have resulted in substantial recoveries, it's important to note that not all of the lost funds have been fully recovered. The total amount of money lost in Madoff's Ponzi scheme has been estimated to be around $17.5 billion in principal investments, although this figure could be higher when factoring in fictional profits reported to investors.
That's
But
a good point.
overall, the recovery process has been ongoing and complex, involving legal challenges, negotiations, and distributions to thousands of victims impacted by one of the largest financial frauds in history.
So that was good. I don't know if you guys caught that. So there's a couple things I just didn't think about, and I know we hear the $65 billion amount. There's two things. There's one that actually people invested. Like I gave 100,000. I expected to turn over. Then they're getting statements over 10 years, let's say, saying oh, your $100,000 is now worth 800,000. I lost in their mind, they're thinking I lost 800,000, but in reality, you lost 100,000. It's still bad, but
It is bad.
that's a good point. But
Right. That's good information, James. Thanks for sharing that with us. Now, what is the usually sentence for someone that actually does a Ponzi scheme?
What I can tell you is that the sentence for a Ponzi scheme can vary widely depending on factors,
Okay.
such as the amount of money involved, the number of victims, the defendant's criminal history, and the jurisdiction in which the crime was prosecuted.
Okay, that makes sense.
Prison sentences can range from several years to several decades. In the case of Bernie Madoff, he was given 150 years in prison for orchestrating the largest Ponzi scheme in history and
Wow.
defrauding investors of approximately $65 billion.
you know that in some ways I've heard people say this, like a few years to a couple decades. I mean, obviously Madoff got, he was sentenced to a bunch of years, and that's good too, because otherwise people say, well, I'm going to steal 10 million. I'm making up the number. I'll stick 5 million away. Even if I go to jail for 5 to 10 years, who cares? When I get back, I'll still have all the money. Like people could say, I'll never work at a regular job, never make it that far anyhow.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sometimes you can think that way.
That's good that there's big sentences. But but dealing with, like I said, we're going back to how long he got away with this thing. I mean,
17 years.
I guess we'll go to Chin, our criminologist. I want to know how long, how did he get away with this for so long? Like, what are some of the reasons,
That's a good question.
It is amazing that he was able to get away with it so long. His ability to perpetrate his Ponzi scheme for so long was a combination of his reputation, the secrecy and complexity of his operations, regulatory failures consistent but fabricated returns, and the dynamics of a Ponzi scheme that temporarily satisfied investors while concealing the underlying fraud. It was ultimately a combination of factors that allowed the scheme to continue until its eventual collapse in 2008. Keep in mind that Madoff used new investor funds to pay returns to existing
that's true.
investors, a hallmark of Ponzi schemes. As long as new money flowed in and existing investors were satisfied with their returns, the scheme could continue to operate without detection.
That's good. Yeah, I guess as long as not everybody's running to the bank and looking to get their money, he could kind of keep it going for a little bit.
Right. So the money that's coming in, the people that want to cash out, he uses their money to cash them out.
It's just like, in my mind, it's like, what kind of person, would do something like this? Like, what gets that in you,
Right. And that comes from, now, Carol, that's a good question from
Yeah,
a
go ahead, ask
psychology
it, yeah.
perspective. What type of person that would even think of doing a Ponzi scheme and think it is a good idea?
From a psychological perspective, individuals who perpetrate Ponzi schemes like Bernie Madoff often exhibit a combination of personality traits, cognitive biases, and situational factors that contribute to their decision-making. Some key aspects that may characterize the type of person who would engage in such fraudulent behavior include narcissistic traits, high levels of deception, risk-taking behavior.
Yeah, at risk.
Lack of empathy, overconfidence in abilities, rationalization, and self-justification, psychological distancing, and opportunity and situational factors. It's important to note that not all individuals who display these traits will necessarily engage in fraudulent behavior, and the decision to perpetrate a Ponzi scheme is influenced by a complex interplay of individual, psychological, and situational factors. Understanding these psychological aspects can provide insights into why some individuals may rationalize or justify engaging in behavior that is harmful and illegal.
Thank
That was
you
a
for
great answer.
Dr. Coward. That was awesome.
I mean, I still, I didn't. Obviously, that was a professional answer, but I still can't. And especially depending on their backgrounds. I guess it goes back to, you talked a little bit about, Bernie's family, etc., where he grew up, but still. So I guess these will always kind of eventually happen. There's going to be somebody that wants to utilize this method, and
Exactly.
I'm going to just throw out this last question, and it makes sense. Probably go to the legal person, James, first. But it's like, how do we prevent? Is there a way to prevent these Ponzi schemes in the future?
That's a great question.
That's a great question, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Preventing Ponzi schemes in the future involves a combination of regulatory measures, investor education, and enforcement actions. For one thing, governments and regulatory bodies should enhance their oversight of financial markets and investment schemes. This includes more stringent registration requirements for investment advisors and funds, regular audits of financial statements, and robust enforcement of securities laws. We need to require greater transparency in financial transactions and disclosures. Investors should have access to clear, understandable information about the risks and returns of investments. Mandatory reporting standards can help in early detection of suspicious activities.
Yeah, and I know they did auditings, but the auditing
Exactly.
didn't go very well.
That's the
So,
thing too. They did audit because they had some suspicious other investors or other companies was like, how is this possible? So they did it, but I guess they just had some loopholes and
so just to expand on that, I mean, that was good to see. These were some of the things that we can prevent it. But do you have any other, specific ideas of how this would be done? Like, do you have any ideas to that regard?
Yes, I have a few ideas.
Okay.
First, we need to require greater transparency in financial transactions and disclosures. Investors should have access to clear, understandable information about the risks and returns of investments. Mandatory reporting standards can help in early detection of suspicious activities.
Good one, too.
Increase investor awareness about the warning signs of Ponzi schemes.
That's a good one.
And other fraudulent activities. Educating the public about basic financial literacy
that's an
and
excellent
investment
one.
principles can help individuals make more informed decisions and avoid falling victim to scams. Mandate independent audits to deter fraudulent activities and provide early warnings of potential Ponzi schemes. Establish strong protections for whistleblowers who report suspected fraud. Encouraging individuals with insider knowledge to come forward can help authorities uncover Ponzi schemes at an early stage. Foster collaboration between regulatory agencies, law enforcement, financial institutions, and international counterparts. And finally, launch public awareness campaigns to warn individuals about the dangers of Ponzi schemes and how to recognize and avoid them. These campaigns can be conducted through media channels, educational seminars, and online resources. We have to recognize that financial fraud tactics evolve over time. So regulatory frameworks and preventive measures should be continuously updated and adapted to address new challenges and schemes.
Yep, good idea. Oh, I see Chin wants to weigh in here too, but before that, Chin Huan, is that, yeah, I think that's a great idea. They always morph in, people get smarter. You get caught on with the same stuff, you try something a little different. But I want to hear from Chin. It looks like he has something he wants to add to what can also be done.
In addition to what James has mentioned, I would also like to point out the need for improved technology and data analytics. Utilizing advanced technology and data analytics to monitor financial transactions and detect unusual patterns indicative of Ponzi schemes. Automated systems can help regulators and law enforcement agencies identify potential fraud more efficiently.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I know Chim's passionate about this. Okay, Jim, you could
Yes.
tell us, I know, you've a little bit upset about this, and you have some ideas and thoughts about this a little bit more because you, again, trying to be more preventive. So what are I'll give you some final thoughts.
What gets me so angry is that so many in this case lost their life savings.
That's true.
A lot more needs to be done to discourage these types of crimes as it affects so many people.
Yep, that is definitely true. It affected a lot of people and a lot of money. I mean, some of these people like trusted the family, trusted Madoff, and when I say lose their life savings, guys, I mean it. I mean, a lot of people had to like move out of their house, and it's just really sad. And that had been something I should have added to this. But if you read or go into some of the videos online, you see a lot of people and how they were affected. I think on Netflix or something, there's a whole
Yeah.
documentary on this as well. But anyhow, so Chirac, what do you think of this whole Madoff case and what our panel had to say?
Well, I hope a
lot
lot
of
of
good
people
points.
learn, right? Because that's one of the things as well. Learn from this as well. A lot of them, you know what, you think sometimes because people are rich and wealthy, they don't make these bad choices, but they do. This is a good example of wealthy people. They were wealthy. Now they probably not wealthy as they were because of this Ponzi scheme. And they trusted, Bernie, they trusted their friends because I noticed a lot of this was because they trusted and they friends told him about, Bernie, and then he started getting all of these new investors. And I think he was shocked himself. He really didn't, I don't think he was planning on getting this hyped up. It's just that a lot of people kept coming to him and he did not want to say no.
Yeah, and he also had like for a while a legit side in the business. So I don't want to get too involved in that. But I think it's just like anything else, guys. Whether you hear about this on the internet or even through friends that you trust. Remember, people are people. You can, they may have great intentions. They may think this is good, but it's just like we say on this show: do your own research, right?
Exactly.
So anyhow, we might have more about this going forward, but this was a good one because at least it didn't deal with like some of the crimes we dealt with before.
Right.
This is more monetary as opposed to some of these lives. And the AI, came back really good questions
Thank
and
you,
really good
guys.
answers. That was awesome. So I'm really happy about that. And yeah, if you guys, let us know if you like this case, if there's other cases you want to hear, if
Let
you
us
like
know.
the AI panel, if you think it's helpful, that's good. We're going to do a lot more with our artificial intelligence just in general. We're going to have some live
Yes.
conversations. We'll just do a whole bunch of stuff, but we're going to incorporate that into our investigation because I think that sometimes can dig in deeper than we can and comb through a lot more information. So anyhow, I think we're ready to go.
Studio
So we'll see you
7-0.
next time.
Studio 7-0.
You just says that. I was waiting for it. All right, guys. Talk to you
Said it.
later.
Have a good one.